When did you start drawing and telling stories through your art?
I've been drawing since I was a baby, pretty much. This is something I've always loved to do. And as I got older, I kept drawing. I majored in art in college. And then my senior year in college, for my big senior project, I decided to write an illustrated children's book. And I thought back to when I was a kid, coming here to Fenway Park, which is just a place I've always loved. I feel like it's a pretty magical place. So I wrote a book about a kid who goes to his first Red Sox game and catches a foul ball, and there's some magic in that. So that book ended up being Zachary's Ball, which was my first published picture book.
Well, I know you just talked a little bit about your history with Fenway, but when did your love for baseball begin?
It was always just a part of me from the time I was a little kid. I would come here with my dad, so I always loved the Red Sox. I loved collecting baseball cards and playing wiffle ball in my yard. Growing up here in the Boston area, it's just kind of a part of you.
You've written books about Ted Williams, Hank Aaron, and Pedro Martinez. What really drew you to write about these players?
I've always loved reading about the history of baseball, so for me that's where a lot of the stories start. I'll read about a player and usually find something that I feel like hasn't really been told before. And then the Pedro book was really just from remembering being here at Fenway when Pedro was pitching. That's the first player I wrote about who I actually got to watch play. And when he was pitching, this place just turned into a whole different place. It was electric.
It all comes down to this pitch. He struck him out.
To kind of relive those days and also learn more about him, what it took for him to become a baseball player. But yeah, it's more just my love of baseball, and I get to turn that into what I do for my work.
K-Men getting to work.
So how did you get started with the K-Men?
So I met the K-Men, Kirk and Ryan, years ago. They were actually still in high school when they started doing this, and my first book had just come out, and they put together a fundraiser for the Jimmy Fund. Even back then, they were only like 16 years old, and they invited me to sign books at their fundraiser. And then they said, if you're ever at Fenway when we're up there, come join us. So I went and joined them the next time I saw the K-Men up on they used to be in the bleachers back then. And it just sort of we became good friends, and I kind of just stayed with the crew over the years. And then in recent years, I've sort of been the resident artist of the K-Men, where I design the t-shirts and the hats, and we sell those to raise money for the Base, which is a great organization in Boston that does all this great stuff for kids in the city, sports programs, helps them with homework.
Do you have any advice for kids out there who want to be an author or illustrator like you one day?
Yeah, I would say, if you want to do this, if you love to draw a lot. Draw, you have your art class at school, but also draw at home just for fun. Like when I was a kid, way back then there was no internet, if you could believe that. So I would always have a stack of newspapers in my house. I would find pictures of my favorite Red Sox players and just kind of copy them. I was always drawing Red Sox players. And now that's what I get to do for my job, which is pretty cool. Same thing with writing. If you like to write something every day, start a journal, write about what happened today, or make up stories. Just the more you do this stuff, you get better at it. It's like anything. If you want to be a good baseball player, you got to practice and you slowly get better. Same thing with drawing, with writing, with any of this stuff.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.